Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series. It is race number 11 as we head to that of Nashville Super Speedway. Drivers are prepared for the Nashville 160 here tonight. 160 laps for these drivers. It's going to be for our first stage on lap 80, and everyone here tonight not sure what they're going to be expecting. We didn't know what we were going to see last week when Vincent Sora finally got himself to victory lane. Can he do it again, or will we see another driver show up here tonight? All will be seen here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're excited to give you all the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. With me, it's going to be a new face. Well, kind of a new face. He was here during our 6-hour Daytona event. It's going to be that of Terry Radford joining me up in the booth. And as always, our producer tonight is going to be that of Robert Moyer. Terry, it's great to have you up in the booth. We're going to be trying something different with these drivers, going to Nashville Super Speedway in that of the Gen 6 Cup car. This Cup car has been pretty difficult with the dirty air, with how heavy it's been. But tonight, an unknown for all of us, really.
Yeah, and what a way for me to come in, Nashville, my home track, to see the 1.33 mile track be utilized by this series and with the Gen 6 car. It's going to be interesting to see, as you talked about, with the dirty air. And Vincent Sora got the win last week. He's fifth on the practice charts right now with only about 3 and some change to go. Tom, Sinchek, Brian Johnson, Mark Whitley, and Zach Cole have been faster than him. Not a whole lot of separation, only about 1/10 of a second will separate 1 through 5th, so the field's evenly competitive, but we also don't know if they were running qual times or if they just went out and made a draft lap with the race setup. So going to be interested to see which one kind of plays out, but I expect a very close-knit field as we progress through 160 laps.
Yeah, those top 5 always seem to be the fastest drivers week in and week out. I was talking to some of the other drivers in the middle of the field with that of Aaron Kralik, also with Ryan Bird and Hut Stutler, just getting a sense of how they were expecting tonight's race to go. And all of them were talking about brakes, changing up their brakes and putting, instead of, the brake bias being a balance, to move it all the way to the back, which are just a few adjustments these drivers can make as they're in a fixed setup league. So the drivers, they're trying everything they can to slow down. Terry, these cars are extremely heavy, and here on the concrete, it's all about slowing down into these corners as we ride on board to get a sense of what it's like to run here at Nashville Superspeedway.
Yeah, I'm watching him from the outside view here, and you see a little bit of skew going into the corner when he gets on the brake just a little bit. Not a whole lot of brake's going to be utilized here in these corners, but Nashville Superspeedway is a mix between Dover and a little bit of Atlanta. You have that really long banking all the way around the corner. Then you have these massive straightaways where you get a ton of speed going down them. But there's a little bit of a kink. You have to slow down a ton in these corners. So you got to get down to the bottom. You have to pinch it all the way there. You don't want to find yourself on the outside. The second groove's not really a thing here. You want to do what the 28 just did. Get down to the bottom a little bit. Keep yourself about a half a car length up off that yellow line. Keep the car from getting loose on the center. But just a little bit of brake, and then you just roll it all the way through, and you gun it before you hit the Nashville Superspeedway Turn 4 sign, and that's a perfect lap around here. But I don't know how many perfect laps we're going to see this afternoon. 160 laps of them, we might see about 100 of them be just spot on.
Yeah, that is going to be the thing to watch out for, is how many cautions come out, as there will be no fast repairs for these drivers. So get any damage, they're going to be in trouble. But another big thing here, Terry, this is the second to last race of the regular season. We only have Homestead next week before we figure out the 16 drivers that will be racing for a championship. And we're missing some drivers that are inside of our top 16. Dakota Moniz, 12th in points. Max Foner, 13th in points. Both are not going to be showing up here tonight. So this gives opportunities for drivers just outside the top 16, such as that of Ryan Bird, 17th in points. He could try to bump himself into the top 16 going into that of Homestead next week. So tonight's very important for the drivers that did show up to have a good points day, with only 15 drivers currently that have put down a time. We're still waiting on that of James Tremmel to be hopping into the server to be our 16th driver, but now qualifying right around the corner, just 10 seconds until qualifying, where track position here, Terry, could be a very important thing with how hard it's been to pass here with these Cup cars.
Yeah, you talk about Ryan Bird being 17th on the playoff grid, trying to get himself in. He's middle of the pack right now, 9th place in practice. not spelling too well, but the gap between him and the leader is only 1 point or point zero or 0 point rather. Man, all sorts of discombobulated into this race. He's not too far off with his run, but like I said in practice, I'm not 100% sure if he went out and ran a lap with a ton of draft or if he just went out there by himself. If he did, that was a great lap. If he had a touch of draft, that's even a better lap in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see which mode he takes going in. Is he going to play the conservative game, knowing that, hey, I can get in based off of the virtue of that guy not showing up, or is he going to play the I've got to get to the front, checkers or wreckers? I have 2 chances to do it. I know I don't want to go to Homestead with just that being my only opportunity to get in with how slick that track is.
Yeah, I mean, if any of the drivers might be I will need to have the best finish here tonight of finishing in the top 5, top 3. Ethan Smith going to be in the 00, are one of 2 rookies that showed up here tonight. He's going to be a driver to watch out for, and also another rookie to watch out for, Dylan Walterman, that's going to be hoping for a good race here tonight. As qualifying's underway, we ride on board and check out the 2 machine of Danny Cochran that's going to be trying to put down his first time. It's coming out of turn number 4, going to be starting his first lap.
Yeah, you have to be focused on getting yourself to green, and you have to do it flawlessly. The tires are cold. You don't really have a whole lot of grip going through the center of the corner. But right there, that was not a bad time to lay down. A 29.1, faster than the rest of them by a full 1/10 of a second. So now this lap's going to be more crucial because he still has speed in him. And now his car's got some speed in it, got some heat in it. He's going to come off a 4 here. And this lap looked a whole lot better than his initial one. He's going to go all the way to the apron, almost touch the grass. And he bested it and put a 29.0 on the board. Not too bad for Mulvaney here.
Absolutely not, as right when he crosses the line, bests this time, but then gets bested by Brian Johnson, our most winningest driver so far this season. Johnson having 3 wins so far, looking for win number 4, as Vincent Sora now going to be moving up to second, as we see the 49 we were just talking about. Ryan Bird, as he just completely wrecks it out after being done with his times, frustrated with not the best qualifying showing for the 49 machine, as here comes out of Tom Sinchek, going to be trying to best his time. He was 12th, and now trying to go even higher, and will do so. First on top of the board goes the 8.
Wow, and he picked up almost a full second there. His first lap, he only ran a 29.6. He was sitting down there in about 13th position, jumped his way all the way up to the top of the board. What an incredible lap. You see what the 20's going to do here. The 20's not going to do any better. He's actually going to slow down there. That's going to keep him in the 14th position as we run with a 30.1. A lot of gain on that second lap, which was surprising to me that a full second could be picked up on tires that might not have been the best.
Yeah, I mean, you really didn't think that we were going to see the 8 top of the board, with, especially like you said, with how slow that first lap was. Found heat, got it placed in, and now we find ourselves with a minute and 45 seconds left here in qualifying, which gives us space and time to give thanks to our sponsors, that at the Simbox store. If you're looking for quality, craftsmanship, affordability, and also purpose-built for all simulation games, go get yourself a Simbox from the Simbox store. They've been making and preparing sim boxes for the past 2 years, and they are honestly some of the best sim boxes you can get. You can get them with an affordable price, either on eBay, Facebook, or even Amazon. And they're hoping to be launching their their website here soon at www.simboxstore.com. And if you go use the discount code FreakyFast when you're purchasing, you can get yourself $10 off at the Simbox store. You really push our buttons. And as well, big thanks to that at Track Racer Refined Gaming. If you're looking to get yourself the cutting edge design and also get a competitive edge over the other racers, well, go get yourself some track racing supplies to either get yourself a racing rig as well as a flight simulator and any other rig supplies for monitor stands and wheels that are also combined with that of SimCube from Track Racer. Get everything you need to get your competitive edge and complete your rig here today. Track Racer Refined Gaming. 20 seconds left here in qualifying, Terry, and it looks like all the drivers are set where they want to be, which I think for now, The real question is, how are they going to be reacting here? We saw what qualifying was like, Terry, with cold tires. Now the question is up in the air. How are they going to react with cold tires in these first couple of laps?
Well, you have to think with Brian Johnson, Danny Cocker, and Ethan Smith, the first three rows to the outside. They're going to want to get to the bottom as quickly as possible, but they also have to hope for some luck on the inside. They'll have to pray that the inside line gets a great jump on the initial green flag to work their way to the bottom. This race is going to be a battle of attrition. 160 laps seems like a cakewalk around this racetrack, but when you throw in the consideration of, well, we got cloud cover here this afternoon, the sun's going to potentially be setting here on this racetrack, and the track's going to be really cool. So there's going to be a ton of grip, ton of speed on the initial jump, but you also don't want to wear your tires out on the outside. So the bottom's going to be the preferred groove. Who fights for the bottom, who drives to the back, and who just says, you know what, throw caution to the wind and just tries to drive up to the front and burn those sticker tires up before we get to the stage break.
Yeah, tires are going to be a big thing. That's what I was hearing from the drivers a lot, was save those tires. Might have to see drivers come to pit road before their fuel even runs out. As you see, our starting grid, getting the pole position, going to be that of Tom Sinjak. In second place, going to be Brian Johnson with Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley, Ethan Smith, Zach Hall, Maurice Gilmillion, Aaron Krolick, and Thomas Walter are going to be your top 10 with Trevor Earhart, Sean Hotstutler, Nick Crawford, Ryan Berg, James Tremmel, and that of Dylan Walterman. Going to be your 17 drivers going to be trying to attack here tonight, with Walterman not taking its time for that of qualifying, but we'll see how the drivers want to attack. 15 drivers we're expecting to hit the course unless Walterman wants to get back in to the session. Right now we're waiting for Krolick as well as Nick Crawford and Walterman to get gridded up. Otherwise, they're going to have to start on pit road, which you do not want to start on pit road. This track, only a 1.33 mile course, but like you noted on there, it's a hint of that of Dover and as well as Atlanta mixture here, Terry. So the driver's going to have a handful starting off. And since the drivers are still waiting, gives us time to look at the weather the drivers are going to be dealing with. As for tonight, it is looking like the ambient temperature going to be around 69 degrees. Track temp going to be around 78 starting out with the wind speed of 10 miles per hour. The wind's a little high. We'll see if it affects these drivers at all, but I think it's more so of the fact that it's pretty cool with 78 degrees. These drivers are going to have a lot to work with grip at the start of this race.
Yeah, and you talk about the dirty air affecting these cars. When they come around here with all of this grip, all of this speed that they're going to get, getting out in clean air is going to be the most perfect thing that we can have. And all 17 cars did end up making it. Dylan Walterman is going to start on pit lane, which is just detrimental, in my opinion, because if he takes that, he automatically starts one lap down. Everybody's going to go around him here when they take this green flag, and then he gets to play for the caution to come out to put himself back out there. But what can this 8 do? Set down a fast lap in qualifying. Was not the fastest guy in practice to my recollection. So can he hold the front? And what's he going to have to do? What's Ryan Bird going to do? Is he going to stay up there and hope to get in? We're going to find out shortly as the pace cars exit or come to pit road.
Pace car is off, and it's time for us to go Nashville Super Speedway Racing. It's the Nashville 160, and we are green with Tom Sinchek, Brian Johnson, heading into turn number 1.
Yeah, they're still side by side here. You see the 8's going to work the bottom. Nobody diving to the bottom. Everybody here is going for it. 28's going to give the run on the outside. He's going to go door to door with the 8. 8's going to get a bobble. He's going to really bobble. And now the 28's going to take the lead and side by side for second as the 2's looking on the outside.
And there goes Danny Cochran and the 2, and now watch out on the outside, the 00 of Ethan Smith. Smith might be thinking about forcing it 3. Watch for a second there. The 00 going to be a driver to watch out for Monday night for the NAIS Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. We saw the 00 of Ethan Smith went with a late strategy of going for 2 tires late in that race in 1 here, hoping to find a little bit more strategy for himself to maybe get a win here in the Cup Series. As side-by-side racing is going to be going on for 5th place. It's between the rivals. It's Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora. They still can't get away from one another. And Terry, I know this is your first time being in the booth watching these guys. Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora, they've been really willing to wreck each other Monday nights in the Truck Series. And sometimes here in the Cup Series, they seem to get close to one another and always seem to find a little bit of bumps and bruises by the end of the night.
Nothing's better than some friendly competition. And right now, they are not giving any inches to one another. The 77 was a little loose on the outside. 15 still going to be on the bottom in that McConey setup shop Ford Mustang. But what I've been noticing the past couple laps here as we cross the line for lap 4, a lot of these cars are starting off sideways. A lot of looseness out here. You see the ladies drivers having to work the wheel a ton. This is a product of being on the outside on the initial start with cold tires. Now that the track has it, you see on board with Sora, he's down here, is going to get this run down the back straightaway. And then when he goes out of the corner, he's going to have to brake a whole lot harder and a whole lot sooner than the guys in front of him and the guys behind him. So as he rolls the bottom, look how beautiful he gets off the exit of the corner. He's going to gain about a tenth of a second here coming on the front straightaway. And these drivers are hanging it all on the line in the Music City.
That they are, and they continue to roll up front. Single file currently for the front runners, which is expected to see this track. Really, it's in the first 2 to 3 laps that you've got a chance to make some big moves. After that, you're kind of stuck to the whims of seeing the drivers in front of you overwork these tires, get a little bit too aggressive, maybe not slowing down enough, and costing themselves positions. As you're seeing Mark Whitley on the outside, able to make the pass currently here for 4th place, trying to get by Ethan Smith.
Yeah, he's working it. I mean, he really is working it. He got around Vincent Sora. He was able to complete that pass, and he said, you know what, let's go ahead and just get one more spot. And he's going to make that. That's impressive. That's a power move early in this race to show guys, hey, fresh tires, I can go to the outside and make it work. Everybody else dive into the bottom. He's going up to where the rubber is. And as the race progresses, as the run goes on, the more green flag laps we put down, the more rubber just builds up. And you'll see this track go through a couple transitions. You'll see it the way it is now in the corners where it's lightly colored. And then you're going to watch it get darker and darker. By the end of this race, you'll see marbles all over this track. So it's going to be interesting to see what line the drivers take as we go through this race. But right now, everybody wants the track position, and you have to get it now before the stage break comes out in the halfway point of this race, and you take that first pit stop.
Yeah, right now we're starting to see 2 drivers that were really moving well in the early goings of this race now starting to fall back just slowly. Ethan Smith, that we've been watching on screen, seems to be struggling a lot in the center of the corner off. That's where he's losing a lot of the speed. And as well, in 3rd place, Tom Sinchek losing 2 positions from his pole spot. And gotta say, for the drivers that are in this middle group right now battling for 5th place with Vincent Sora, Ethan Smith, Zach Hall, Maurice Gomillion, those 4 drivers, yes, they're running hard, but they're going to just have to play the patient game and hope that they have at least, yes, they're running aggressive, but Terry, if anything, they might have to just save their tires and hope that they can catch up the drivers ahead of them that are being a lot more aggressive, because we're racing on concrete known to be ripping up and being a cheese grater to these tires. Yeah,
concrete is not tires' best friends, and I can tell you now with the drivers right here, we're on board right at this moment with the 32 is Zach Hall, and he is all over the back bumper of that 00 of Ethan Smith, and then he backs off a little bit, putting a little bit of pressure, trying to take the air off the spoiler, get that back in just a little bit loose, make it feel just like, oh man, Ethan doesn't want to race this car because it's just junk in his opinion. But that's what you have to do to get around here. You have to move that driver out of your line. You have to be aggressive, but you also have to be patient. It's a balancing act, and now he's going to get to run side by side as they come down the front straightaway into 1. Can the 32 get that spot all the way clear?
He's going to do his best coming through the center of the corner. This is where we've seen Zach Hall be the much more dominant car, but he's going to be pinched on the outside, and dirty air side drafting. Those are 2 things that have just grown so much with this Cup car, but a great power move on the entry of the corner, just able to dive it so much deeper was the 32 of Zach Hall, completing the pass for 6th, and last season's Final 4 finalist of Zach Hall now trying to move him to way forward as Ethan Smith continues to falter back.
And that right there was what you would call just a little bit of a dive bomb. He had the position. You knew he had the position to make that pass complete, but he had to get in there just like a road course. And I know probably somebody's going, Terry, that's dumb. Why would you say that? But this is absolutely accurate. When you go to make a pass here at Nashville, when you go down into the corner, if you have just a nose inside of that driver, you want to outbrake them as much as possible. If you can sit there and keep on the gas a whole lot harder and then smash the brake a little bit just to get the roll in the center of the corner, that's going to set you up for success here. It might eat the tires a little bit, but if you can get enough gap in between you and that driver, that progression's only going to go so far. You see him working the 15 here. He's trying to be patient, but yet he's also trying to be aggressive. He's figuring out what his balancing act could be at this moment, because as we progress through the race, as we get some laps down and some rubber down, the car is going to feel completely different. So he has to fill it out now, get these positions made up, and hope that he can drive away like the leader has right now. They're 3 seconds ahead of him at this moment. So it's go time, but it's also patience time. But he's going to have to get around Sora, and he's going to have to do it pretty quick, because I think he's holding it back just a smidge.
Yeah, just a smidge back here. These drivers battling for 5th place, and up to 2nd. Tom Sinchek just making the pass over Danny Cochran and able to move forward. The 8 just made an extreme power move last lap here, Terry, on the entry of turn 1. Made the pass on the outside. You noted on it, this track's going to have some ebbs and flows. An outside lane, very strong for the 8. Once again, able to see another driver find the speed on the outside, but now 14, 15 laps into a run. You usually don't see that with these older tires.
No, you normally don't. And the 8, he is very fast. I mean, he is really fast around here. His last lap, the 30.0, he matched what the leader did. I mean, all the way down to the 1,000th. Put the same lap down, and he also was making a pass. So that shows that his car's fast in dirty air. His car is fast in clean air, as he showed in qualifying. But his only problem was the initial start, going down into 1. Got a little bit of a bobble coming off the 2, and now he's having to make that track position up. He had to regroup himself. He kind of had to get in his own head a little bit and go, look, this race just started. My race isn't over. I'm in 3rd place. Like, I have to make something happen. He had been setting up the pass on the 2 there of Danny Cochran, and he finally made it happen. And you see he's starting to gap him. Has a 10th on him, but the draft is going to harm him here down the back straightaway. They go down into the corner. The 2's going to be able to stay right with him until he catches the draft of the 28, and then we're going to see a 3-horse race for this lead.
Absolutely. And, you know, Terry, again, this is your first race watching these guys. This is, for Tom Sinchek, kind of a recovery season. He's kind of known as champ. This is the 4th season of the NAISCC Cup Series. And for the first 2 seasons, it was all Tom Sinchek. He was the most winningest driver. He won the championships for season 1 and 2. But then season 3 came around, and that's when Brian Johnson, our current leader, won the most, came away with the most wins, that of 7 last season for the 28. And for Tom Sinchek, got 0 wins last season, comes into season 4, re-energized, has a lot more of a pressure and wants to rebound after not winning a championship and not even making the final 4 of that matter. And now Tom Sinchek, this season so far, 2 wins, looking for win number 3 to tie with Brian Johnson. And here comes the really 2nd and 3rd. They're gaining quick, Terry. It's now a 3-horse race for their 1st place position.
A little bit of a bobble for the 28 there. 28 was really charging a lot. He lost a ton of time right there on those last 2 laps. He had a 30.4. Then he puts down a 30.5. Tires are starting to show a bit on that 28, and we have dropped a full 1.5 seconds at this moment. Best lap time for these drivers, 29.1, 29.2. Now let's go with 30.5, 30.4s. So you're starting to see a little bit of slipping and sliding from the rear end of the cars. A lot of these drivers really starting to get to the point of this run where they're like, man, my car is horrible. It's going to be a balancing act here, but these drivers have been calm for 21 laps. A 3-horse race, the leader's going to have to be on his toes. He slips up one time, he's going straight to 3rd, but luckily, look at the gap they have between them and 4th place. It is a ton of time as the 2 tries to dive bomb it on the 8 here, but he's not going to be able to prevail as the 8 gets cleared by an inch.
Yeah, and almost making a little bit of contact there. Side by side, heading into turn number 1. Danny Cochran, all week long, hearing from the drivers in the garage, it was all the 2. Danny Cochran was looking like he was going to be the fastest driver coming into this race, but no one knew the speed of Brian Johnson. They didn't really know if he was going to be the fast dog or not, and now we're starting to see it. Tom Sinchek, Danny Cochran, Brian Johnson, really extremely quick right now and trying to find the right area to make passes, but this is the thing. Once you get to lap 20 or 30, your tires are so worn from being so aggressive and trying to build the lead that they have over 4th place. that you're kind of stuck in a spot where you've got to force the issue, make other drivers make mistakes, and further back, hard racing going on as well. This is the battle that's currently going on for that of 9th place. Trevor Earhart, Sean Hutzstettler, Maurice Gomillion, and Gomillion's going the wrong way.
And Gomillion is going the wrong way, -3 positions. He's the second biggest loser of the race so far. Aaron Kralik being the 01 and 13th, he's dropped 4 positions. Maurice has dropped 3. He's back to 11th place. But I'm liking some of these paint schemes here. Got a Sterling Marlin scheme, got the camouflage scheme, and at first I didn't even see that car on the racetrack. He was kind of blended into everything, in color as the track. But what beautiful Tennessee backwoods schemes to throw on these cars. I mean, you are in the Music City, the home of the steel guitar and the fiddle. If you're going to play in Nashville, you got to have some camo on the car. This is good to see. Good racing, good times in the Music City, and nobody brings the party like Nashville does.
Oh, it is one of the best places to go for music, that is for sure, and it's always fun. But our first caution, gonna wave here tonight, and it's gonna be back in 16th. Ryan Bird bringing out our first yellow of the night. And honestly, with the way these drivers are racing, I didn't even think we were going to see a yellow, as waiting and seeing if we're going to get the replay of what happened, as Ryan Bird's going to be bringing out this yellow here tonight. And right now, it doesn't seem like we're going to be having the yellow being thrown, but it was a self-spin by the 49. Brought out this yellow coming out of turn number 4, and just gotta say, Terry, interesting to see a self-spin, but really not surprising here at Nashville. We've seen drivers get loose in the early goings of this race, and once you get more wear and tear, the looser the car can be. And Ryan Bird going to be parking it for the night, first DNF.
I'm very surprised he parked it. Didn't make a whole lot of contact. Got into the outside wall coming off at 3. Slid it, did an incredible job saving it. Didn't have a whole lot of damage on that thing either. I mean, crinkled up a little bit on the passenger side, but to park it, that's, to me, you're in the playoff hunt. You're sitting one spot out. You had to make some chances here tonight, and you're in a position to where you're going to gain positions and points no matter what. You're going to gain some points because of the drivers that were not here. They're obviously not going to get anything. So 27 laps in, you're going to get points at the stage break, I do believe, and you're also going to get points at the end of the finish. So I would have hoped he'd have stayed out there. I think he could have gained a couple more points if some other drivers would have gotten some incidents, but not surprised to see all these drivers on pit lane. They're screaming for tires over the radio, and it's going to be a drag race off pit lane, I can tell you that much.
And out of pit road, it's going to be that of Tom Senchak beating out Brian Johnson. Mark Whitley also going to be moving up to 3rd. And the question of what happened to Danny Cochran, missed his bit box, had to back up the 2, went from being up in 3rd, coming into pit road, all the way back to 7th place. Major mistakes here, Terry. You cannot make those mistakes. We've already seen how difficult it is to make big moves and passes, and now Danny Cochran is going to be making a huge charge if he wants to get back up to 3rd.
Yeah, he's going to have to make a ton of spots back up to get to where he was at, but he's got a fast car. He has a very fast car to get himself back up to the front. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see him fighting back up here, but the dynamic really hasn't changed. I mean, you add Mark Whitley to the hunt. Zach Hall back to the fray. Ethan Smith is going to be there. They've learned what the car can handle through the center of these corners and off exit. I expect to see these drivers starting to get a little bit more antsy as they don't know how many more cautions we will see here this afternoon. We know we have one more guaranteed, but we don't know outside of that. So they're going to have to be up on their toes. This lap is going to be crucial. Not a whole lot of passes happened whenever they took the green flag. Saw 2 or 3. Now it's time. It's go time, in my opinion, to really settle yourself in to where you're going to run for the majority of this race.
Yeah, how aggressive do you truly want to be? Again, stage 1 comes to the conclusion of lap 80 for these drivers, and only the top 5 get bonus points. So you got to be making sure you're in the right position. And for the driver that really these points matter the most to, that's going to be the 00 of Ethan Smith. Again, who is outside looking in. Ethan Smith coming into the night gonna be all the way back 24th in points, needing a major rebound if he wants to be getting into the playoffs and be in our top 16. He might even have to be in a must-win scenario and get top 20 in points if he wants to go on. For these drivers here tonight, it's all about this restart, get a good jump. We've already seen Tom Sinchek make a miss here earlier on the start of the race, but this go around, he's got a fabulous launch here, Terry, for the Nashville 160.
What a rocket ship he put right there. I know he wanted to make up for what he did on the initial start, but coming through 1 and 2, I mean, when they took the green, he took the green, and he took it in grand fashion, side by side for the third place position. You're going to see the 77 and the 32 to the low side, to the high side. Can this open the door for Ethan Smith to get his way in there? And we got a car around. That's the 99.
Walterman, who's going to be off track. Issues coming out of the corner. We saw this on the initial start of drivers getting loose. Luckily, no other drivers were involved, but because he spun off the racing surface, no yellow was thrown. As we move back up to the lead, it's going to be that of Tom Sinchek, almost having Brian Johnson on his quarter panel. Brian Johnson has to reset, retry. Top 4, single file out, all side-by-side racing, back to 6th.
Really sideways here for these drivers. I just watched the 77 and the 32 have to do a bold save to get the car back around, pointed in the right direction, but all single file throughout this pack. 28's going to say, I don't want to be single file no more. I'm going to take this lead. That's where my car's the best. He's going to take that beautiful Chevy and put it down to the bottom, pin it all the way down to the apron, and hope to get the run off the center of the corner as you see a perfect bird's eye view from the 77 as the 28's going to get loose on the bottom, coming to the line.
Yeah, I mean, just came in, tried to really hold on a close and near the apron, but the center of the corner had to back out of it. The tightness kicked in. The center on the entry of these corners sits tight in, loose out here at Nashville Super Speedway. And right now, it's going to be Tom Sinchek holding on, but here comes the 77, Mark Whitley. A great launch out of turn 2. And on the back bumper, thinking about possibly going out on the outside. Brian Johnson, once again, I mean, it's just a do-si-do back and forth. Zach Hall holds on as that 32 gets loose.
And what I've been seeing here for these past couple laps is everybody is actually working together here. Nobody is really being overly aggressive, getting it down in the corner. And now the speed has picked up. A lot of these drivers turned into green. Fastest lap of the race has been turned in the last 2 laps. So these drivers have understood, okay, this is what I could do with this car. I could be a little bit more aggressive with this race condition that we have going on here. It's a lot cooler in the race than it was in practice. A lot of the drivers are having problems off of floor. Now they're not going to have those issues because the track is covered with clouds. There is no sun beaming down on it. It looks daylight out here, but they're still having issues off of 2. So you give up turn 4, you give up 2. It's going to be a dogfight here as you see all the top 7 close knitted together. I think people are starting to find their footing here around this 3-mile track.
Absolutely, but for our leader, Tom Sinchek, he's got to be slightly concerned. Did have issues for himself, got into the outside wall coming out of turn number 2. Going to be faltering with that, and as well, other drivers have gotten into the wall. That is Sean Hutzstetler out of turn 4, had issues for the 94. So everyone all around starting to feel that tight sensation out of the corner, which that's just a showing that you're carrying too much speed for these drivers. They got to be careful, as we're going to be, like we've been shown for on Monday nights, now here Saturday nights, going on board with the 20 of James Tremmel and gain a sense of what it's like running for this 20 machine, and also get to see him what he looks like in real life. James Tremmel focused up and trying to move forward as he currently runs an 11.
Well, you see back here, he's up 4 positions, second biggest mover in this race. Nick Crawford is up 5. He is up 4. He's actually working it really smooth. You see him kind of playing with the wheel a little bit. There's no straight line here at Nashville on the front straightaway. You really have to give it just a little bit of wheel. He's going to go down to the corner, see the 2 wide battle in front of him. But you see the push that just happened in front of him, where the driver gets into the corner, thinks he's going to be able to arc it in perfectly, gets back on the gas, slips up the track just about a 1/4 inch. That 1/4 inch makes a huge difference as you see the run that this 20 is going to get to the outside. And can he make that run stick? No, he can't. but now that sets him up better for one, where instead of half a car length, he's right on the back bumper, and he can smell that next position up to the 10th place inside for the first time, the top 10.
Yeah, and you kind of saw there, the driver ahead being the 25 of Trevor Earhart, willing to be aggressive and kind of forcing it into the corner, while James Tremmel kind of went with a more passive approach. Got on the brakes, a lot sooner, trying to just woe up that car so he could try to get a better launch out. But man, good to be seeing the drivers having driver cam here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as we're seeing the intensity start to build up once again up front, as you see the 15 trying to catch up to the front 5 that have been racing extremely hard, and also the battle for the lead back on as Brian Johnson right on the tailpipes of that 8 machine. Once again, we're going to be seeing, Terry, it is all Brian Johnson, Tom Sidchek early on, but Zach Hall, he's now up to 3rd and trying to move up.
Yeah, Zach Hall has done a phenomenal job keeping up with these two leaders. They have been consistently the fastest cars on the racetrack, but mirroring in their time, and I mean identical to their times. Maybe about 1,000th off here, just right there with them. And the draft's starting to help him, but the problem I see here is the 3-car race going on. We don't know who the lead guy is going to be. We saw Brian Johnson take it on the initial start, and the 8 was following and putting a lot of pressure on. Now we see the 8 regain his lead where he started early on in this race. Now we add the 32. Here comes the 2. Here comes the 77. All working their way back together in an accordion effect, down the front straightaway, down the back straightaway. Who's going to take claim of this race as we get halfway to the halfway point of this event? Somebody's going to have to put their flag in the center of this track and say, I'm going to dominate this one, and not just let it be an up-in-the-air event, because anything could happen when you're nose to tail, especially at a track like this where you could get ran over pretty easily.
Oh, absolutely, especially if you make a mistake like that. Tom Sidchek going to get loose out of the corner, put Brian Johnson right on the back bumper and almost bumping him around. And throughout, getting closer to the halfway of this event. Well, we're past halfway now of the Stage 1 stage break. Again, at the end of lap 80 is when Stage 1 will come to a conclusion, and only the top 5 get those stage bonus points. Currently, it's Tom Sidchek, Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley. They're going to be your top 5 currently. And I got to say, for Tom Sidchek, if anything that we're starting to see here, Terry, it's that clean air, so important. But also, Tom Sidchek, he's been running about a half a groove higher than most of the other drivers, which is just a big enough gap to let the drivers behind you get a little bit more anxious that they maybe can make a pass. But at the same time, there's not enough space really to force the issue.
Well, that's a perfect defense. You know what they say, defense wins championships. Well, defense also wins racing. And for Tom Sidchek right now, he's doing what he has to do to keep the drivers behind him. If he can play the line of running halfway in your groove, halfway in his, he can still kind of control this race. I mean, there's another great defense in Tennessee, and that's the Tennessee Titan. So right at this moment, he's playing the Titans approach. He's tightening up. He wants to keep this lead, and the only way to do it is to not do that. Is to not take it wider and let that 28 get a sense of hope. If you take your foot off the throttle and stop commanding this race, then you're playing more offense than you are defense. And if I'm the 8 or I'm the 28, I want to go back to what I was doing. There's a reason the 28's pushing so hard to take this lead, because he knows that all he has to do is suffocate people to the bottom, and ain't nobody going to want to take it there.
And also, I think for the 20 and Brian Johnson, I mean, this is one of the first times we've really seen him be stuck behind someone and recognizing this dirty air is so powerful. And I'm wondering if we're going to see, we saw earlier of Mark Whitley in the 77 make a pass on the outside. Will we see another driver think about doing that? Or could lap traffic be a factor? The 14 of that of Jesse Thordick's going to be one of the drivers to watch out for. And I gotta say, for the 14, he's gotta be careful because he's got some very fast cars closing in on him quickly.
Yeah, Jesse didn't get any practice in, didn't put a qualifying lap in, showed up race time, being very respectful there on the outside in that Menards Ford. He's gonna let the drivers work the draft here, play it in. He's gonna go back to the high side, be very respectful here. That's exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna go outside turns 3 and 4, go all the way against the wall. I've watched these drivers come out of turn 4 And at one point in time, I thought the 8 was about to blast the wall down, and he throws a massive block there. Almost touched the paint on the outside wall, but he's going to keep it straight here, go back to playing defense, get back to the bottom, and hope that the run doesn't happen by the 28, and a little too late, side by side for the lead.
Here comes that of Brian Johnson. Thompson check on the outside. Going to be trying to get back on the throttle as soon as possible. Going to be pinching. Little bit of contact to watch out for. Coming out of turn number 4. Still side by side. And now Zach Hall's going to have an opportunity to maybe force the issue. Brian Johnson going to lead that lap as Thompson check. Still going to be forcing it side by side into turn 1. And here we go, Terry. It's your top 2 in points. Still battling for the top position here in Nashville Superspeedway.
And this is not what Tom Senchuk wants to have happen. The 32 is going to go to the bottom with the 28. So the 32 is going to work which line works for me. He's like, I'm going to take the 8 away. I'll take his line out of the equation. He's going to continue to fall. The 8's going to have to get in line at some point in time. He has about a 3-car length gap between the 2 and the 15. But he's continuing to fight on the outside. Side by side they go in the turns 2. Off the exit of the corner, 32 is going to clear by a nose hair, and now the 32 lets the 8 in behind. 2 backs off a bit, and now here comes the 15 of Vincent Sora, last week's winner, trying to go 2 in a row. He has finally caught up to the lead pack.
Vincent Sora going to be doing his best ever since the new year has come around. We've seen the 15 go to victory lane, and he is trying to continue on that streak. We've seen him win Saturday last week, and now we're trying to see if he can win again. We also saw him win on Monday in the NAISCC Truck Series, but he's got a little bit more work to do. 5th place currently, but he's got to watch out behind him, because behind the 15, Terry, it's our biggest mover of the day, Nick Crawford, who's silently been moving up, currently 7 positions. The 11 finally going to be up to 6th place and catching up quickly to the tail end of our front pack.
Very sneaky, and I hate to use the pun freaky fast, but he was sneaky fast. He was very sneaky in practice. He did not put down one of the most, eye-popping laps around the racetrack for just a single lap. But when he went on a long run, he stayed consistent. Consistency was key. You would see him come through, he would go on a 10-lap spurt. He stayed consistent. He never really had an out lap where it was just like, oh gosh, what a terrible lap. Every lap looked the same, and he's showing it in the race now. It also helps that the people in front of him are battling, but that 11 is looking for more. As the 15 gets to the inside of the 8, the 11 wants a piece of that action too.
Yeah, Nick Crawford right now trying to figure out where he wants to place himself. Which car does he want to help on the straightaways? And no, Thompson check. Vincent Sora contact. The 15 goes spinning through the field. Everyone starts to slow down. And just in a blink of an eye, everything changes for those that were racing for 5th place.
Aggressive killed the car, and aggressive goes around. Those 2 were fighting hard for that position early in this race. I mean, 54 laps into this race, and we talk about how big track position is. That just shows you what these drivers want to get done. As you see the contact here coming down the straightaway, the 15 going to come up just a little bit there, try to pinch him up to the outside, and then the 15 is just going to go around, and the 11 has nowhere to go, makes slight contact, and then just locks it down there.
I mean, Nick Crawford right here, just locking it down, holding the brake, trying to decide which way the 15 is going to go. Every single decision Nick Crawford tried to make, that's where the 15 would slide to. And you're just hoping not to go through the grass, not sure where to go. You're right on board with Nick Crawford on this replay and just decides, you know what, we're going to completely put this car to a halt before we get rolling.
Yeah, he had to figure it out quick because everything happened in the blink of an eye. But now you pretty much come down pit lane. Hope you get a good pit stop. I see that the 77 is actually going to stay on the racetrack. That is a bold move to do this. All these drivers behind him they're just going to swallow him up here. The tires, he's already lost a second. I mean, 1.8 seconds from his best lap time to now, or what he's putting down. 57 did it too. I mean, track position's huge, but you also want 4 fresh tires.
Well, Terry, the big difficulty for these drivers is that most of this field, actually all the field, has already used one set of tires, and the next, all the drivers that just came into pit road, we're expecting them to use their second set of tires in the first 56 laps of this race. We still have over 100 laps to go, and for one, primarily most of these drivers, they only are going to have two sets of tires to work with from here on out, as these drivers only had four sets in pit road at the start of the race. So tires could be a factor to watch out for much later on. That's why we're seeing Mark Whitley and Thomas Walter decide to stay out and save a set of tires.
Yeah, but I think you're going to give up more time. You look at the net gain here. So the net gain for Mark Whitley, only 4 positions. He was sitting back there in the 5th place spot, jumps up to the lead. Thomas Walter came out of nowhere with this strategy, but I mean, you have to gamble to win races. You have to gamble for positions when you're not having the greatest night in the world. He was further on down, but 4 tires plus, or no tires plus no speed equals a bad result. For Mark Whitley, no tires, some speed in the car that can contend with the top 5 seems like a very good strategy. But unless they get a caution in the first 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 laps here, this strategy goes completely awry. If we get a long green flag run here, all the way 30 laps to that stage break, they could potentially go a lap down and they take a net loss of a full lap plus their positions. So it's a pro and a con here. They're going to hope for some aggressive racing here on this initial start and see if we can get the 3rd caution before we ever hit stage 1.
Stage 1's end in conclusion going to be on that of end of lap 80, unless a caution comes out between the laps of 75 to lap 80. If a caution comes in, then that will be the end of stage 1. Another thing to watch out for, I was just rewatching some of these pit stops. Our front 2 are not the only ones that did not take tires. Mark Whitley, Thomas Walter did not even come to pit road for fuel, but it's going to be Ethan Smith and Aaron Kralik. Both of them are going to be taking fuel and no tires on their pit stop. So the front 4, they're going to be on much older tires, much slower, which is going to make these first couple of laps very dangerous here, Terry. This is when the Sharks come out to feast, and this is also when cautions can breed cautions.
This would be one of those times where I would ask if we could grab one of those drivers, but I do not see them in here to talk to. Thomas Walter's there. If we could grab him for a second,
That would be massive. What's going through his mind? What brought the decision to do this? I mean, to know that there's another row of cars behind you that did not take tires, I think that makes me feel a little bit better if I'm the leaders. But you're still going to want that caution, Sam. There's going to have to be something going on there where you're going to wish that, in about 5 laps, you're going to wish that you took them. But there's no turning back now. You can't turn back time like Cher said. You're going to have to roll with it and see if you could potentially get that caution, because I think with 5 laps, you've got the advantage. So the upper hand would go in theirs. But if we get this long green flag run, 20 laps to the stage break, man, this is going to get wicked.
5 laps, I would say only 2 laps at advantage. We'll see how long they can stay out there. Our top 4, older tires. Everyone else, they got 4 freshies. But green flag back in the air for the Nashville 160. And already that inside line did not get going. Thomas Walter, Ethan Smith, they got to be careful because they're 3 wide back for 6th place.
Oh my goodness, a checkup of all checkups had happened right there, and it is crazy. The two's loose, the 2 almost goes off the track. He saves it, gets back on the 8, goes to the back. Oh my goodness, everybody going for positions, and the drivers who took no tires are getting eaten up in the middle of this field as the 10 is going to go all the way to the wall and just continue to drop.
As we're right on the back bumper of the 2 of Danny Cochran was able to get by Ethan Smith, and Smith, somehow, there were multiple times that there should have been a wreck. There could have been a wreck, but certainly right now everyone's able to hold on for now. But for how long, that's going to be the real question. And Terry, in a blink of an eye, we were so enamored by what was going on in the middle of the field. Brian Johnson's already back up front and leading this thing.
And Brian Johnson said, "Deuces, boys. I'm going to win this race." Already taken a second lead around here. The 32 is Zach Call. He's working his way up there. He's gotten around some of these slower cars, but Brian Johnson isn't messing around here. The 2's having a good run. He's right there. The 8's rebounding. The 8 got loose, slid around, but the drivers who did not come down pit road right now back to an even run for the 77 as he's sitting in 5th place, exactly where he would have been if he would have came down pit lane. But this has gotten interesting as lap 62 is on the board, and I'm sure these drivers are hoping that a caution comes out and that they are not the caution because their cars are extremely tight. I mean, you see that 10, he's washed up the track like crazy.
Yeah, it is extremely dangerous for a lot of these drivers. 0-1 of it. Kralich's going to be faltering back, and then in front of him, Ethan Smith's going to be losing ground as well. Those are the main 2 drivers that decided to just take fuel and now are faltering. Mark Whitley, Thomas Walter, they're currently running 6th and 7th in losing ground. And really, it's one of those things where you're just hoping that you're not going to be costing anyone else's race. Here is, we're watching that of Walter, that of Nick Crawford, and as well James Tremmel going to be 3 wide going into turn number 3, and it's the 20 that takes the advantage, going to be getting by 11 after the deep move by the 20. Now going to be doing a crossover move and getting to go. Hearing a little bit of drivers' frustration further up though, as I believe that of hearing words from Tom Sinchek, scared for himself is Danny Cochran. Heavy damage for the 2.
Oh, the 2 is just slow. Going down. He's coming down pit lanes. Big problems for that 2. He was fast. He was right there, and it looks like he made contact with the outside wall. And yeah, he's coming down pit lane. That's a game changer. That is a massive game changer for this field because he was right on the cusp of being in the top 3 to take this lead, to take the win potentially if strategy played right in his hands. Not a good sign, but he still has, a little under 100 laps to make this work. Gonna get a caution in about 15 laps, but looking at these drivers here, right now the 32 of Zach Hall's pulled away from the 8, and he is really in this leader. I mean, he has really cut some time down. It was 1 second. Now it's down to 0.6 of a second. Brian Johnson was fast on the start, but Zach Hall says, wait a minute. You guys aren't talking about me on the broadcast. Up 5 positions in this race, and he's up 4 since we dropped the green flag. Really putting in some work, and he's rolling that bottom flawlessly as a 28 almost caught the wall there off exit.
Yeah, both the 28 and the 32. That outside wall has claimed a lot of victims, and I was talking about, hearing Tom Sinchek loud on the radio. Danny Cochran now officially parking it for the night, and when Danny Cochran got into the outside wall, staying to the 8 machine, a lot of damage on the right side of the 8, who already had right front damage, now getting a little bit of right rear damage from that of 8 laps ago. But for the drivers that are up front, it is all Brian Johnson, Zach Hall. These guys are still teammates and allies, but there seems to be an issue further back in 14th. Jesse Thordick, who was up to 5th, off track, and now getting back on course. Issues for the 14 and wrecking off the racing surface, so no yellow is thrown.
And I'm sure the drivers that did not come take tires were screaming, where's the caution? Somebody threw the yellow flag out. There's somebody spinning out there, but not good for the 14. As this really is just helping the drivers who didn't come. Like the people that didn't come down pit lane. You see Whitley, Walter, those 2 have been able to kind of hold their positions. And if I'm the 57, if I'm your cheerleader, if I'm somebody that's there, he really wasn't gaining positions, right? I mean, he was just kind of settled in the pack where he started. There was not a whole lot of gain for him. He's up, Pete. He's +2. He's up to 8th. So he was just mired in the 10th place position, just kind of minding his own business, doing what he had to do. He's there. And yeah, he's riding the outside, but that momentum has been key for him. It's been good for those tires to just put him in a place that nobody else has. There's no heat there on the outside. So kudos to him, and he's only got 10 more laps to hold on as the 01's going to get to the bottom. Let him go. There's no sense in racing them. Let them burn their stuff up. You're 1 set to the good. Anything happens green, white, checkered wise, they're going to be out of tires by then. You're going to have that extra one in the bank. this could be the move that wins somebody the race. You saw how Brian Johnson took it. Well, we could see one of these guys take it too.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, you know, this pack of drivers that we're seeing on screen, I mean, Trevor Earhart, he's one of the drivers that came in and took a set of tires. Also got a little bit of damage repair for the 25. But Thomas Walter, Aaron Kralik, Dylan Walterman, I mean, these are drivers that decided to just go with fuel only on this last stop and not really take tires that much. So they're still in a position where they could stay out here and feel comfortable that they can make it to the stage. Again, stage 1, conclusion of lap 80 for these drivers, which we're just 9 laps away, coming up to 8 laps once Brian Johnson comes around the corner and crosses the line. But Terry, just in our first 72 laps, about to be 73 laps of today's race, it's been surprising as 2 of our front runners that we were expecting for great races, Danny Cochran's out of this thing, Vincent Sora 16 laps down and still getting repairs done.
Still sitting on pit road, very patient. I'm sure he's got some music sitting on in his ear, letting the damage get repaired. But the battle for the lead's starting to heat up. That point is either going to go to Brian Johnson or Zach Hall. And then Mr. Where did he come from? Mr. Consistency, in my opinion,
Nick Crawford.
There he sits in the 3rd place position, 10 spots, the biggest mover of the race thus far, doing a phenomenal job taking that 11 machine to where he needs to go. And it's a Chevy lockout far in the top 7. First Fords you're going to find Ethan Smith. And then you got to look all the way back to 10th to find Thomas with a Toyota. As they're smoke in front of the 11, something's going on here. And that's the 14 smoking.
Yeah, that's going to be Jesse Thordick who came out of turn number 4, and the engine just leapt for himself. Multiple times he's gotten into the wall, and his engine is finally gone. That's going to be another driver calling it a night. We started out with 17 drivers here, Terry, and before we even got to the stage break, we've already seen 4 drivers might be calling it a night.
And this is what I was talking about with Ryan Bird. Didn't have the best start. 20-something laps into the race, he goes around, gets minimal damage. If he just would have stayed out there on the racetrack
and would have continued to compete, Ryan Bird looks like a genius. He didn't have to really race that hard. He could have just rode around for a little bit, could have went a couple laps down. But now you have Jesse, Danny, Vincent out. That's points. That's 3 points lost here that he could have gained to get himself in the playoffs, to not have a must-win going into Homestead. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I don't want to go to Homestead with a must-win because that track is scary, dangerous. You will go into that track thinking you're smooth, you're fast. One slip up on one of the grooves in the center of the corner, your race is. You don't want to put yourself in that position. It's like going to Bristol and saying, I have to qualify for the playoffs here. There is an unknown around that racetrack. You're either going to hit the setup or you're not. And right now, Zach Hall has hit something. He's there 0.3 of a second, and we're coming lap 78 on the board. 2 laps until we see stage 1 complete.
Yeah, and right now, Brian Johnson's got to be a little bit nervous because Zach Hall's been finding a little bit more speed each and every lap. For Zach Hall, though, he's got to find a little bit more speed if he wants to try to make the pass. Yes, he's closed in the gap. At one moment, the difference was over a full second, and now less than 0.3, about to be less than 0.2. Coming out of turn number 4, 2 laps to go here for stage 1, and it's only these 2. Former teammates had to get split up after last season's domination from being a part of Category 5 Esports. For that of Brian Johnson, had to make a new team, Magnitude 9, and that team alone has been the most consistent team. Zach Hall, though, he's found the original Category 9 drivers. He's missing that of Cedric Hunter, who's been his tag team partner all season long. That of Brandon Colley, decided to call it a season early. And now, coming across the line, white flag of stage 1, it's Brian Johnson. Zach Hall looking calm and comfortable. Rest of our top 5 that are looking to get stage points here, they're also pretty comfortable where they lie.
Yeah, very comfortable in 7 seconds. Now make that 8 seconds from the lead all the way back to 3rd. They showed that you can go fast, and you can go fast now. They're all going to come change tires. Everybody would put on the same strategy, but coming out of 3 and 4, the stage conclusion, Brian Johnson's going to take it. Zach Hall P2 and there's no battles for the rest of them.
As Nick Crawford looks to me as he's going to get third here at the line. Stage number 1's complete, and
Brian Johnson showed why he might be the guy to win this race.
Yeah, and now the question is for Zach Hall. He's been starting in third or further back. If he can get a good pit stop, he's going to be the driver to watch out for on this next restart. Stage break is here. That means we're going to step aside for a quick moment. Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, Nick Crawford, Maurice Gomillion, and Tom Sinchek, your top 5 to get the stage points. We'll be back to take you to the end here at the Nashville 160 on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series here for race number 11 at the Nashville Superspeedway for the Nashville 160. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Terry Radford and also Robert Moyer running productions. Terry, it's your first broadcast officially here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Got to see 80 laps of Nashville racing action here. What was some of your thoughts in the early going?
Well, I appreciate the fans out there in the chat enjoying what's going on. I've enjoyed working here with you for this race. A special event for me. Always love coming to my hometown to call one of these events. What I've been most interested with is the fact that the 28 really showed up and did what he had to do. Now look, we have new players into this event. The 11 has worked his way up to P2. Didn't have a great strong qualifying run. Was not very strong in the opening laps of the race, but as time progressed, as we worked towards the stage break, here he finds himself in P2. So a lot of these drivers, we don't know who the clear-cut favorite's going to be. We kind of have our eye on one. The 28's got the momentum. Who's going to come be the 2? Who's going to come knock on his door and say, hey, don't forget about me just yet? 8 fell back. Terrible pit stop. Terrible pit stop for the 8. I want to see some drivers get up here and mix it up and take 4 wide going into 1. That's what I want to see.
Well, I don't think it's going to be 4 wide for first, maybe for 5th. We'll figure out if it happens here. Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, Murray Million, Zach Hall, Mark Whitley going to be your top 5. Pace car is off, and we are green once again here for the Nashville 160. And it's going to be a little bit of a delay start, but there goes Brian Johnson, just completely stalling out the rest of the field. And the 68's already, for the 28, he's already gone as the rest of the field just got caught sleeping there, Terry, as they're coming out of turn number 2.
You see, I normally don't say stuff on broadcast, but that right there, if race control was watching that start, I wasn't a fan of that. Green flag was out. And the moment the green flag came out, it's like the 28 kind of brake checked just a tad bit there, kind of backed off, was rolling, chill out for a second, and then go. Gets the jump, car loose in the back. Whoa, man, that could have been huge and could have took out about 50% of this field, but they gather it back up. 32 is going to get back to the bottom. He's going to clear the 11. What can the 77 do? Can he make his way up there? A lot of shaking and jiving going on to the front, but your clear cut number 1 and 2, 28, 32, we're closing now the laps past halfway. We're close to crowning a winner here this afternoon.
Now we are. Brian Johnson's going to be the driver ahead. You have talked about a driver getting loose and out of trouble. That was Maurice Million after contact between himself and Ethan Smith. It was a 44 getting into the outside wall and has dropped all the way back to 10th place, trying to stay in the top 10. And also, for Tom Sinchek, you talked about it, a poor pit stop for himself, but primarily it was to get damage repair for the 8 machine. He is now back, full song, up to 9th place, but you can tell this aero damage going to be hurting him on the long run. And then we see moving up, Mark Whitley up to 3rd, the 77, who went with an odd strategy of trying to save a set of tires. He still has 2 sets left in pit road. The rest of the field, they still only have 1 set to take to the rest of this race. 77 in 3rd position. Hey, we were questioning it, Terry, but luckily the 77 stays on the lead lap and now has a chance to take an advantage if we see any other quick cautions come out later on.
And I'm still going to question it, and here's why. I will be the interjection to it all. Whether or not he saved the set of tires is all willy-nilly, but what can he do with that set of tires is what I want to know. The speed's not showing it to me. Like, I'm looking at the speed, and either he's not pushing the car as hard as he can, and he's just saving something, or, you know, he doesn't have the speed in the car, and he's a 3rd place car at the moment. You know, I don't want to say right now he's a 3rd place car and that's where he's going to be for the remainder of the race, because anything could change. He could be making a fool out of all of us and just being there pacing himself. But looking at the lap times, the best lap time for the 2 leaders, 29.18, 29.13. They're still running 29.3s, 29.2s. His best lap was a 29.2, and his consistent laps is 29.4s. So he's about 2/10 off the pace if we're looking at it this way. We're cutting dry across the board. His fall off is more. That's 3/10 he just lost there on that lap. What's he doing? Is he going to be able to make that time up with that set of tires? And are we going to see a caution for him to even use them to play him into account? It's a lot of questions to be asked, but 3rd place is a good spot. He's gapped 1 and 2, and he's gapped 4 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the earlier lap times the 77 was putting down. Yes, right now, I mean, Mark Whitley off pace from what he was doing in the first, 20 to 15 laps of this race, where he put down his fastest lap time of that 29.2. I think 2 factors. 1, just trying to save those tires to try to get a long run advantage, possibly to run down our front 2. And 2, is a slight bit of damage the 77 is dealing with on the right side. That outside wall has collected a lot of just small things here or there that have hurt the majority of these drivers here tonight. That's why we've had ourselves 4 drivers call it a night early, because of those small damages that they've been collecting throughout the night. So they've got to be careful for themselves But I got to say, if we are going to see a quick caution to give an advantage to the 77, so we can use a set to maybe get past our front two, we might be seeing this caution come out around that 9th place position, 9th and 8th. That's where we find Aaron Kralik, Thomas Walter, Maurice Gilmillion. They are right on top of one another.
And for the person that I would say stands out from the rest that did not come down pit lane, or if they did just take in fuel only, Thomas Walter. I mean, not the strongest night, on paper. We could sit here and discuss it all night. Okay, was he better than where he was sitting on the racetrack? Set around the 10th place position majority of the night. Fell back automatically to 10th off the initial restart from the 4th place spot. Finds himself in 9th, so net gain 1. He gained 1 spot, and then he also gained the set of tires. So it was a win-win situation for him, but the strategy played out as well for Trevor Earhart. He's up to 6th. He was sitting around the 11th place position all night, and now he's worked himself in front of Tom. He's fell back, and he is not gaining any more time up here on these drivers.
Yeah, that damage from the 8 machine that he got from when Danny Cocker got into the outside wall and came up, and the dirty air kind of pulled the 8 into the outside wall. That's why on this at the stage 1 break, when the 8 came into pit road, extended time on pit road getting damage repairs. And you can tell that damage has really been hurting the 8 machine. Tom Senchuk has not been able to really gain any more positions ahead. He's kind of stalled out where the speed of this car has been.
And I think this would be the time in the race that if we were to get one of the yellow flags come out, you're going to see some of those drivers that did have a little bit of damage have to save that set. If everybody else comes down pit lane, you need to stay out. It's like this would be the time that I would throw my hat in the race and say, look, I'm going to try to go on the same strategy as these guys to make a difference. But right now you see Brian Johnson and Zach Hall, they've stepped away from Mark. I mean, 2.5 seconds has moved them away, almost 3 seconds to the leader. These two are starting to be the class of the field, and don't sleep on this 32. He's been fast, but I don't think he's showing us everything that he's got in that race car, because he's running identical laps to the leader, but I think if he pushes just a little bit harder, I've been watching his telemetry, he's been getting on the gas later and later throughout this run. That guy might just be the dark horse to all this. It might just be faking Brian Johnson out here.
Potentially could be, but Brian Johnson, we look at concrete surfaces that have been ran this season. Only other one is at Dover, and that was one of the 3 races Brian Johnson's won this season. He won back at the Daytona Road Course for race number 4 of the season, then won at Dover, and the most recent win for Brian Johnson was at Watkins Glen back for race number 7. So it's been a couple of months really since we've seen the 28 in victory lane trying to go for victory number 4 this season, but he's won at Dover, which concrete surfaces, usually that translates for some of these drivers.
It absolutely does. The feel of the car is going to be exactly what you feel on any other concrete surface. I mean, and I know somebody's probably going to go, oh, no, that's not how this works. Well, yes, it absolutely does, because when you get down in the corner, you know what the grip level is going to be on these things. You know that it doesn't have as much heat in it as an asphalt track. Asphalt heats up, the top surface becomes greasy, gives you just a liner of grease like you would from eating a McDonald's hamburger, and then you come to this place, it carries oil. And I know that might sound crazy, but oil, water, coolant, anything sits on the top of the surface and gives you just a little bit of a slick. These drivers here don't have to worry about the slick because the sun's not beating down on it. There's no level of rising coming up. The rubber's not getting hot here. So for the 28, hey, he won Dover. Dover lays rubber just like this track would, and the corners are very similar when it comes to how much you get on the throttle, how much you're off the throttle. Not surprised to see him winning this race, but he's not pulling away from the 32, and I don't think he really will unless both of them are kind of sandbagging.
Yeah, how much are they truly holding on and trying to save for themselves? As we look on screen currently, the battle for 8th position. Tom Sinchek now under pressure. Here comes Thomas Walter, Maurice Gilmillion, and as well the 94, Sean Hutzstadler, starting to pressure on. And I kind of noted on it earlier, drivers that have damage, it's the longer run where they start to really feel the pain. And for the 8 of Tom Sinchek, he's starting to feel it. Thomas Walter able to make the pass, moving up to 8th place. And here comes Mo of Maurice Gilmillion.
I about choked on my own spit there. But the damage on the 8, I didn't notice it at first, but then when you start to go deeper into the cars, zoom in a little bit, you see a little bit of the wrinkle in the front. That air doesn't seem like, or that gap doesn't seem like a whole lot of places you can get air in. But for anybody with car damage, you see it from here. You see the little bit of a buckle up on the front there on this beautiful in-car shot. That buckle makes a massive difference of your speed. It's like a parachute. When you're going down these long straightaways, unless you have draft to really suck you up and get you right to the back bumper of that car, you're just getting nothing but air on the front of that. And it's just going to limit how much horsepower you produce. So as he goes down there, the sound of his throttle sounds different than everybody else's because he doesn't have it. Until he gets behind the 94 here, then he starts to have that harmonic balance of, okay, he's running on all cylinders. Right now, he's not. He's down about a half a cylinder. Fresh tires cures that, but the fresh tire game is over at this moment.
Right on board with the 8 of Tom Sinchek. Get a little bit of sense, and you can see him on the steering wheel just turning so much more than that of Dylan Walterman and others around him. It's just a struggle for the 8, who found a little bit of a stall out in 8th position, but the wear and tear has finally hit Tom Sinchek, now back to 12th position. We see some of the drivers battling on with one another. Gotta say, one of the best battles currently on track. It's for 3rd, all the way back to 5th. These drivers are closing in on one another. Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, Ethan Smith, these drivers closing in. And for Mark Whitley, we've been waiting for him to finally put the pedal down and start moving forward. Seems of the drivers that are in this small little pocket group, it's Nick Crawford and Ethan Smith that are saying it's go time.
Well, and Nick Crawford's been very patient throughout the run, and the lap times speak for themselves. I mean, he's set back, he's ran to his competition. 30.6 was the last time he came by. 30.6 was the one, was Mark Whitley in front of him, and then 30.5 behind him. But you have to account the draft that he's going to get. Ethan's going to get the draft down the back straightaway. That's going to make a little bit of a difference because he has 2 cars to draft off of instead of just one. So it makes a little bit of a difference. The times don't really stand out. But for Nick, at this moment, just these two need to be patient. You have the time. You have what you got to have. You know Mark's going to have he has a set of tires in the pit, and you only have one. Nick's been more consistent than the rest, though. So I don't know. I wouldn't say go time just yet.
Well, I do want to give note. We haven't talked about it all night long, and that's about green flag pit stops. Now, the caution came out for these drivers at our stage break on lap 80. Drivers came to pit road on lap 82. They then got service done. But the window I was given from the drivers was anywhere from lap 55 to 60. If you're really saving fuel, you might be able to stretch it out to 60 to 62 laps on fuel for a stint. These drivers most likely are going to have to think about coming into pit road, either splitting this stint in half, going out until lap 120 to 125, or they're going to push it as far as they can go here, Terry. They might have to come to pit road with 20 laps to go and maybe just top off. Some might even think about just taking 2 tires if we stay green, as one of the first drivers into pit road and a little bit of an early stop. James Tremmel into pit road for the 20.
Yeah, that is very early for these drivers, as we've only completed 112 laps thus far.
I mean,
it's a little bit of a gamble that you're going to see here, but to me, if I'm out here, Mark has an extra set of tires. He can come down whenever he wants to because he knows everybody else is going to be in a box where they have to stretch their tires for as long as possible because, well, they don't have nothing else sitting on pit lane once they come for that one. So 2 tires is not a bad call in my opinion, but who wants to chance that? I mean, you see the gap between the leaders has gotten down to 0.3 of a second, but the rest of them are 5 seconds back. So the leaders are at the mercy of themselves, and they're not really in a box. If Mark or Nick or Ethan comes down, the leaders will be unfazed by this. As you see the 11 under attack right now, this is the best battle on the track at this moment.
Yeah, it is honestly on track. We're seeing it right now. The battle for 4th place. Nick Crawford, Ethan Smith battling against one another, and they kind of were working together at one point earlier in the race to get up where they're at. Nick Crawford, biggest mover so far tonight, up 9 positions from where he started this race. Ethan Smith only up 1 position, but the Double Zero at one moment was up to 3rd. He was battling for possibly that 2nd place position, but now it's just hit their plateau. Waiting game right now, and for us, we're going to step aside one more time, and when we come back, we take you to the end here at Nashville Super Speedway for the Nashville 160 for the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series, all on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series, race number 11 here at Nashville Superspeedway for the Nashville 160. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Terry Radford, as well as that of Robert Moyer Jr. being our producer for tonight's evening. And I gotta say, tonight it has been wild. We've seen a lot of front runners having issues, but right now we're under green flag pit stops. Already have seen one of our heavy favorites coming into the night. Brian Johnson into pit road, Nick Crawford, and Rick Crawley, Thomas Walter all into pit road, and here comes now Ethan Smith, and as well Trevor Earhart. Terry, middle of green flag pit stop. This is the most important time for a lot of these drivers that have already used, and this is going to be their last set of tires.
Yeah, and I was very interested to see that the drivers came down this early. I kind of expected to see a little bit more of a, I'm going to push it as far as I can, maybe get it to about one lap to go, come down pit lane. But for Mark Whitley, I have to, if I'm his crew chief, if I'm his spotter, I'm somebody in his ear going, ride it out. You have nothing to lose here. You already flipped the script. You did a little bit of a flip strategy. You're going to have to be different. Was also surprised to see Brian Johnson come down to pit as early as he did. But man, when he came down, he just set his fastest lap of the race. He's really going to lay some times down, hoping to gain this track position and maybe have an advantage here. He should gain about a second on Zach Hall once Zach comes down pit lane, and barring a caution, we could see it happen. We're coming down to 40 to go. It's crunch time for these drivers to get up here and really stake their claim to be the winner of this Nashville race.
Well, speaking of Zach Hall, he has just made his indication, and now in pit lane is the 32. Wait to see when Mark Whitley will come to pit road as the 77 stays out. You see a couple of other drivers slow in making the merge in. That's going to be Maurice Gilmillion as well as Dylan Walterman getting their service done, leaving us with just two drivers still out on track that need to come to pit road, Mark Whitley and Tom Stinchek. And for the drivers that have already come to pit road, right now, it's the 77 of that of Mark Whitley, Thomas Walter, that of Ethan Smith, and Eric Crawley. That once all the pit cycle goes through, those are going to be the four drivers that still have an extra set if a late caution comes out.
And that extra stuff can go. I mean, every single driver
can have rest assured in the back of their mind that barring a caution, they're good. Like, barring a caution, they're content. This race would play out the way that it would be organically. So you would have an organic race. And in my opinion, Brian Johnson, I mean, he's laying down blistering laps. He's a second and a half faster than Mark Whitley, 2 seconds faster than Tom. He's gaining a ton of time, but if the caution does come out, let's say it comes out after Mark Whitley comes down pit lane, well, then he's on the freshest tires. He'll be right at the back of the field. He'll charge up back through there. Another caution comes out. Everybody else is going to be looking around going, oh, man, can I get some scuffs? No, you're out. So then here comes Mark Whitley. He's just going to be able to pull away with it. 30 to go. This is where it's going to get fun, because now strategy's just going to be clicking off at heads, hoping that nothing happens here.
You got to be thinking, what is going on in the minds of our front two that continue to stay out? Again, fuel-wise, they can go 55 to 60 laps on fuel, but a lot of the drivers, when I was talking to them, saying that it was going to be about, probably going to have to pit around lap 50 to 55 into a run, just because of the way the tire wear is going to be. So the drivers all got to be thinking ahead. And also, if you want to get into that of iRacing and you want to think ahead, go to that at Advanced Sim Racing. If you're looking for one of the sim hubs that is going to get you some of the best actions and making sure that you can get your sim rig set up, go use the promo code FreakyFast5 to get yourself prepared with Advanced Sim Racing. They've got themselves that of Sim Chassis as well, some of the best retails online. Just go to advancedsimracing.com. They've been around since 2020, and they have one of the fastest growing sim hubs online in North America since then. And as well, other great sponsors that we have here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, that at ButtKicker. I mean, if you haven't heard about ButtKicker, where have you been sim racing wise? Go get yourself a game or two with this promo code FreakyFast20 for 20% off. And when you get the game or two, it's just enhancing the way that you can be feeling these cars instead of just hearing it. That is the phrase from ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Is when you talk to professional race car drivers, they talk about the sensation of feeling and how when you don't have those feeling sensations, you feel like you're losing out. So get yourself a Gamer 2. And also, the ButtKicker Gamer 2 works with that of any videos, anything that has sound. It's a plug-and-go system. And get yourself hooked up with your racing rig. Thank you to ButtKicker. Thank you to Advanced Sim Racing, and as well that at Simbox Store and Track Racer. All the amazing sponsors as Tom Sinchek issues for himself getting out of pit road. Terry, that is not where you want to be making a mistake.
That is not where you want to make the mistake. A good night turned bad for the 8. The 8 was absolutely on a flyer, led majority of the race in the early portion. Goes around, had contact with the wall early on, fell back into traffic, and now we really thought that things could have been playing in his hand. Leaders down pit road now. Mark Whitley finally makes his pit stop, but the 8, I'm not going to say that his race is over because he has an opportunity now to pray for the caution. He'll get his lap back when he comes around and passes the leader, but what can he do to rebound here? Tough break for the 8, but Brian Johnson's about to just take a tear. He's going to have a massive lead as he just overtook it and just growing on this lead.
I mean, this lead, though, that Brian Johnson has, Brian Johnson came into pit road. He was one of the first drivers to come in. And for staying out an extra, I'm surprised by this, but staying out an extra that of 6 laps was Zach Hall trying to have extra, tires, maybe have an advantage of some sort. But I think for the 32, he might have stayed out a little bit too far now because he's now having to run down Brian Johnson by over 10 seconds, and he might run out of laps before he can catch up to that of the 28.
Yes, 6.5 seconds is the gap between 1 and 2. Mark Whitley has fell to 22 seconds back behind Brian Johnson in that 28. A little too late. We're going to have to hope for Mark Whitley. For Nick Crawford, Aaron, the guys who did not take tires on that second pit stop, they're going to have to pray for the caution. I know Tom, he's hoping for one as well. He's the first car 1 lap down on the track, so free pass could happen to him. Almost 20 laps to go here. This is the most crucial point of the race because every driver's on pins and needles hoping that the yellow doesn't come out, barring 3 gentlemen that are really just like, no, please let me see that yellow flag come out because they're in the catbird seat. But Mark Whitley, he's starting to work his way back up. He's to 7th. How far can he go?
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. Mark Whitley now just making the pass on Sean Hutzler for 7th place. For Zach Hall, though, got to say, he's got to be feeling pretty comfortable. For the 11 laps that the 32 has been out on track, running down Brian Johnson, he's been catching about a half a second every lap since he's been back out on track. The 32 now almost 5 seconds away. This is good pace. But the question is, can he keep this pace up as we're ticking closer and closer? If the 32 can keep up the pace that he's going, he will be able to catch up to Brian Johnson before this race is over. But we know, Terry, both you and I know, it is going to equal out at some point. The question is, will it equal out after the 32's made the pass or right when he gets to the back bumper?
6 laps is a massive difference when it comes to racing and it comes to these Goodyear Eagles. We'll see the lap time when he crosses the line. 33:29.9. Not, just a wow here. It was just 5.4. Now it's down to 4.9. So he's got 20 laps to do it. My opinion inside my head, when we get down to when we put 150 on the board, I think we're really going to start to see the even here coming through that line, 30.3, and then he's going to come across the line there. 29.9. He kept it consistent. He's catching him 0.3 a lap. But how long can he keep that pace up?
Yeah, that is the true question. I mean, it was 0.4 about 6 laps ago. Then it was a half a second. Then it was 0.4, 0.3 the 2 laps before this. It was 0.4 this last time by. So, I mean, Zach Hall, he's finding that equal spot where he certainly is gaining. It's almost down to 4 seconds now. you got to give credit on the fact that 32 is coming back with the strength and currently has ran down 6 seconds of time that he gave away, but that's been 6 seconds in 15 laps. He's coming closer and closer to just 15 laps to go here, and he's still, we know it's going to equal out at some point. Question is when, and Mark Whitley, he's 16 seconds back. It's almost impossible for Mark Whitley to make this time all the way down, but how far up can the 77 get? And also we all know what's looming overhead. If a caution comes out, there are going to be 4 drivers that are going to be very happy to see a yellow flag.
Yeah, and those 4 drivers can't be praying any harder that the Nashville gods come down and bless them with the caution. But last time by, we've been 12 laps since both of these drivers have pitted. And, well, 20 laps since they both pitted. I read that one wrong. 4 seconds gap still that time by. He only closed 0.2 of a second. So we're starting to whittle it down. Now we're in the portion where the laps are starting to even out. The tires are starting to mellow themselves. Gaining a 10th here or there is good, but he's got to gain 4 seconds in 25 laps or 15 laps to complete this pass.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's got to be gaining about 0.3, I would say 0.3 at that every single lap from here on out if he wants to get to the back bumper and have a chance. And right now, losing ground is Zach Hall. But we know also this, Terry, the draft could be a factor to pull the 32 in closer. So once he gets within that second mark, he's going to get a little bit of that assistance and might be able to close in even with the older tires that are being worn down. But that last time by, not gaining as much ground as he wanted to. This is when things get treacherous for Zach Hall, and you start doubting the moves that you make. Did he stay out maybe 2 laps too long from a chance to win today's race when Brian Johnson, usually when you watch these races, the first driver into pit road isn't always the driver that wins the race. Usually it's the driver that finds that middle ground. Zach Hall pushed it as far as he could. This could be a costly move for himself. Coming to 15 laps, less than 15 laps to go. Drivers right now, they're in focus mode on who's going to get the win here. Will it be Brian Johnson or Zach Hall as the laps continue to tick away?
I think if he would have came down dead smack dab in the middle of 3 laps and not waited the extra 3, I think we'd be in a different conversation. If it wouldn't be 3.5 seconds, it would probably be in the 2 to 1 range, and that he would have more of an opportunity. But you have to think of how fast Brian Johnson was going on the racetrack when he did take those 4 tires. He came out there and was almost 2.5 seconds faster than everybody on the field, and he really knew that if he took off early, that the speed would stay late. He's only had less than a tenth of a second gaining on him now. So now the tires have really evened out. Zach Hall's burnt the good off of them. Now all we can pray for is a caution if you're Mark Whitley. This is going to be interesting because with 11 to go, anything could happen, and this really is anybody's ball game. But if we stay green, Brian Johnson, he's just walked the dog with him here.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Brian Johnson, driver that qualified second, you knew he was going to be a fast driver to watch out for, gets up front. Last time that, we saw this driver win was back at Watkins Glen, back for this, was a road course dominating car really for Brian Johnson. He swept the 2 road courses that were ran this season, then won at the concrete Monster Mile of Dover, now trying to conquer Music City here for the Nashville Super Speedway. And you look at some of the other drivers, we're talking about Mark Whitley a lot because he's got that extra set. Well, you look at the 2 drivers ahead of him, Eric Kralik and that of Ethan Smith. Both of those drivers also have an extra set of tires if we get a caution as we're coming to 10 laps to go. Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, you're your favorites, and Zach Hall has stopped gaining time. He's actually losing time. Johnson continues to pull away. 10 laps to go here, Terry.
Yeah, 10 to go, and you talk about losing time. He has lost a 10th. He's losing a 10th as we speak around this racetrack. He really did have to drive his heart out to cut into that daunting task to 10 seconds. There's not a whole lot you're going to do you show 10 seconds on the board. This isn't Bristol where 10 seconds, you could easily gain that up in your time because there's so much pace that's lost. But here at Nashville, you're charging so hard in the corner, the right front's going to burn to shreds. That has happened. I mean, that has happened for the 32. But what an incredible run. What an incredible run for the 11 Nick Crawford. Plus 10 spots, started 13th up to 3rd. And for a podium finish, if he can hold it there and keep Ethan behind him, what an incredible day for these drivers. And Mark Whitley's hoping with 8 to go that the caution comes out, but still, he's charged back up to 5th.
Yeah, and for Ethan Smith right now, for this 00 machine, trying to go for his first top 5 of the season. And I noted on it at the beginning of the broadcast, Ethan Smith found victory lane Monday night in the truck series when they were running here at Nashville Super Speedway. So you knew there was going to be a hint of speed. That was going to carry over here to the Cup cars, and it certainly has translated well. 00, maybe not the driver that we thought was going to win tonight, but doing exactly what he needs. Get solid finishes, and maybe if he finds himself with a lucky charm, maybe a horseshoe somewhere, might be able to find him some help as he gets right on the back bumper of the 11. Gotta be careful not to be moving these cars around too much, but at the same time, the 00, he needs a caution to use an extra set to have a chance to win here tonight and possibly have a chance to steal a position in the playoffs.
Well, and we just popped to the car right here that's just catching them. I think if you're Ethan Smith, you have to go because the 77 of Mark Whitley is catching you, I don't know, about a half a second a lap around this racetrack, so he has to make the pass happen to not fall victim potentially to that 77. So now as he's gaining on them, you're going to see a lot of this going on here. As I believe on the hood of that, I can't read his hood. I think the O00 says he loves Martin Sports. I don't know. I can't see what it.
The front of his hood, I believe it says that. oh boy, actually, my server went for a quick second. I believe it does say Martin Sports on the front of it, as Ethan Smith continues to race on. He's hoping to not have any issues, but here comes that of the 77 coming to the inside, gonna be trying to make a move for himself, and you see that it's gonna be I Love our Motorsports, and going to be making the pass easily is Mark Whitley with those fresher tires.
Yeah, the 77 caught him and just made quick work of this. Kudos to Mark. Flipped the strategy. Was not the night. 5th place was kind of where we were at. Goes up, gets to 4th. Now can he get the 11 in 3rd? He's still the fastest car on the track. This time by, he made a pass on the last one, but he's still fast. He has a ton of speed going in there. 3 to go, and Brian Johnson is just, I mean, I don't know what else we can say about this guy. 4.5 seconds. He's stretched it here.
It is honestly been so impressive to watch that Brian Johnson. Again, most winless driver his rookie season last season with 7 wins. Comes into this season, and you weren't sure if he was going to be able to translate that speed. Just the way that the new aero package was on these Cup cars and how it kind of gave an opportunity to everyone here. The 28 of Brian Johnson coming into turn number 3, about to exit turn 4. Looking for win number 4 this season. If he can get it done, 2 wins at the road courses, possibly 2 wins at the concrete ovals as across the line. It's your freaky fast white flag. Brian Johnson into turn number 1.
Yeah, coming to turn 1 and 2 for the final time here down the back straightaway. No lap traffic in sight. It's going to play dividends to here. And when he comes down here going to 3 and 4 final time, bam, sweeping the concrete. Get the brooms out, buddy.
It is Brian Johnson in the 28 out of turn number 4. Nashville 120. Now Nashville 160 goes to the 28. Brian Johnson, win number 4 of the season. And once again, showing his momentum as we're so close to the playoffs. He's wanting that redemption after not getting the championship last season. Here, I gotta say, Terry, what a dominating run. This 28 showing he was the best car all night long.
I was asking for somebody to come out and take the flag and do what you knew you could do. Brian Johnson might have got a bit of a hint that, maybe he had to step up here, and he did. He stepped up and did what he had to do, played the pit strategy to perfection. No caution comes out. The strategy for the 77 and a couple of drivers didn't pan out, but what an impressive drive for this 28. That Chevrolet was spot on from start to finish, and yeah, he's going to burn him down in the Music City.
Absolutely. Well, while Brian Johnson gets to burn it down here tonight, we're going to step aside real quick. When we come back, it's your Freaky Fast post-race show where we'll be talking to Mark Whitley, Zach Hall, and your victor here tonight, Brian Johnson. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show for the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series, race number 11 here at Nashville Superspeedway for the Nashville 160. And it's Brian Johnson that gets to go to victory lane. But before we talk to our victor, we're going to start things off with third place runner, Mark Whitley. Mark, it's Sam and Terry up in the booth. I know we dragged you up from your conversation. Sorry to do that for you, but gotta say, tonight's race, you went with an oddball strategy, but you came up third. Great recovery for yourself. How was the night for yourself?
Yeah, it was pretty consistent. Had pretty good short run speed. Long run we struggled. I'm not really sure what all difference was. I tried a couple different things throughout the race, and I feel like I got better at it, but I just never could get on the same level as those guys at the very front. Just tried to hang around as close as I could with the cautions, and got a opportunity to pull a different strategy with about 20 to go to the stage. Everybody decided to pit, take another set of tires, and I was sitting there thinking, if you pit now, you're going to have to pit at the stage. It's only going to leave one set for the second half of the race. I just stayed out and was able to not get freight train too bad, and a couple guys wrecked and the caution didn't come out, and we're able to get eighth in the stage. Came on pit road, and I need to pay my pit guys more money because 2 pit stops I had tonight, they gained 3 spots each time, so came out pretty good. I was trying to just hang with Zach and Brian. They just kind of started walking away, but I was trying to go full save mode and it still didn't work. But then we went green, and I figured, Brian pitted pretty early, and I figured, I was going to run it out. I had that extra set of tires, so I figured, try to get a good gap difference on our tires, or 10, 15 lap difference, and then pit then and hope for a caution. I know I was making up a lot of time at the beginning, then it kind of tapered off. I only took 2 of that last one just to try to get in and out as quick as possible, and it worked pretty good because I didn't take as much gas, so it kind of balanced it out. But Just can never. We were just so far back from taking it that much longer than he did, and I was going to need a caution, which I was really wanting because I know I talked to him after he didn't have another set. So if we'd got a caution there, we'd have been in a real good position to have fresh tires. But it worked out. No, I called up to the Nick and Ethan, and about time I got to them, my tires started evening out, and I had a little bit better, but it just wasn't as overwhelming as it had been. And then I was trying to set Nick up there, and he overdrove it a little bit in one. I was able to get a run down the back, and I kind of faked low to make him defend low, and then I went around the outside, and I knew he had a little bit, he had older tires, so if I could hold him down there, I could get a run off, and it just managed to get him right there at the end. So that was a pretty good move at the end. But all in all, the race was pretty good.
Hey man, it's Terry up here. I was kind of curious about the strategy, but what really played into the factor other than knowing, okay, maybe I have one of the tires going in? Was there something special strategy wise you played in practice, or something throughout the week that you found that maybe you could double stint the tires? Because, I mean, you didn't really lose a whole lot of times. What did you do different?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just I was sitting third. I had those guys behind me about half a second, and we were all just kind of running where we were. And Brian went ahead and pitted, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I have really nothing to lose. If I go long, I can probably catch these guys behind me pretty good. So I was just trying to throw something crazy at the wall and hope it stuck. Best case would have been, when after Zach pitted, I stayed out a few laps. Best case would have been caution came out then and trapped him a lap down, and I still had an extra set after that. But it was just an oddball, just something to try. Didn't have a lot to lose. I figured I could get back to the guys I was already racing with, and it worked out. I mean, I finished about where I was when I made the strategy call, so it was just kind of throwing some at the wall, hoping it stuck. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So this time it just didn't work out quite that well, but I didn't really lose anything trying it.
Well, Mark, certainly at least a top 3 finish for yourself. We're going to the Homestead next week. How you feeling about that race?
Oh yeah, Homestead's a pretty good track for me. We'll probably be top 5 again. Not sure if we have the long run pace to keep up with some of these guys. I'm going to need some probably more cautions to be able to keep up on the shorter runs, but we're going to try to work at it and just try to get a solid finish. Try to make sure we're nice and secure in the playoffs and move on to them.
Well, Mark, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
First and foremost, got to give a big shout out to Harpoon Designs. Always coming with the great paint schemes. I know this was a throwback I ran last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and we had such good luck with the modified version of it at the end of that race. So I figured I'd bring it back out here since we're still in Nashville, and just try to run it. He does great work. Check him out, harpoondesign.com if you want to get one made for yourself, or he's got a boatload on trading paints where he's already made. So if you want to go ahead and check out some of his previous work, and then another shout out to a sponsor, Angry Duck Graphics. Pretty much, got a website, online store. You can go on there and make your own custom T-shirt. There's no order limit. So if you had an idea for a T-shirt, just want to go in there and just buy one, you can do that. And there's no order limit. So that'd be shopangryduck.com. So check them out. And then a big shout out to my family. They're always supportive, always watching. Always. Whenever I have a bad finish, they're always there to support me. Even when I win, they're always congratulating. So always great to have family behind you. And then for y'all putting on this great broadcast, it's always fun to go back and watch. Y'all are second to none in the business, and it's always makes my workday the next day go by faster when I can just listen to this broadcast.
Well, Mark, another great finish, and thanks for the compliment. And for you, congratulations on a top 3, and good luck going into next week.
Thanks, guys.
That was Mark Whitley in the 77 machine. And now for second place, going to be bringing in that of Zach Hall. And tried his best, but Zach coming up shy. Zach gets Cemetery up in the booth. You came up second, but man, you almost had the strategy work out for yourself. What else could you have done there late?
Oh man, get some clean air in front of Brian. Yeah, I definitely didn't have the best run on the last set of tires there, and that kind of showed. He's so good in pit road, out of pit road, so I'm sure I lost 2 seconds there somewhere. And when I saw a 10-second gap when I came out, I knew at that point I'd have to push so hard to catch him that it probably wasn't going to happen, and I had to. So I pushed as hard as I went, and I was running 0.3 slower than I was run before that on 20 lap older tires almost. So it was frustrating there. Just really couldn't do nothing tonight. Just got the second and couldn't get there. Brian was good enough to where I couldn't get him, and there's not many nights you could stay that close to him. And following the dirty air, and never really had a shot at him. But man, that definitely this one stings, man. Fourth, second place finish of the season. I know I got one win this season, but coming up short a lot, and it's getting kind of old.
Well, you talk about coming up short there. You were really fast on that initial start. Walk me through your strategy of staying on the racetrack for 6 extra laps past when Brian came down pit lane. When did it click that, oh, maybe I do need to come down, or were you trying to force his hand to run as hard as he could, burn his tires up, so that way you could potentially go run him back down?
Terry, I think it's personally a little overthinking from my standpoint. Riding behind him there, coming to the pit stops, I knew he was coming at 40. I knew at 40 to go, he's coming. So looking back at it, I probably should have hit pit road at 41 to go. Then when he hit it at 40, I was questioning coming down the next time. That probably would have been the second best choice looking back at it. But I was just thinking in my head, man, I was able to follow so close all night long and be able to stay right with him. I knew I had just a little bit extra pace advantage. Then that means if I could get ahead. So I tried something off the wall there, maybe hoping for that tire advantage to maybe push me up there and he'd burn the tires up, because he seemed to really be struggling right before we hit pit road. So I knew we had to go a longer distance from where he pitted from what we just ran. So I was feeling pretty good about what I did. But now looking back at it, he was just able to baby the tires, save them real nice and easy, and make sure when I got within distance, mine were already burned up. So just good on him. And hey, man, he's a tough guy to beat. He's one of the guys that if you can beat him, you did something.
Absolutely, man.
Zach, it's been one of those things all season long where dirty air has been a factor at every course we go to. How much are you getting nervous about dirty air going into that of Homestead next week, where we're starting to see, Cedric Hunter's coming back, a couple of other drivers that missed out here tonight are coming back racing next week. Are you nervous about some of those drivers that have always shown historically being quick at Homestead?
Yeah, I feel like we haven't been too long from there. Cedric did win the championship there. I was able to get third, and Brian got second. So it was kind of us three battling the whole race for that championship there. And I felt like, again, that night I had the pace advantage. I just made too many mistakes that night. I think if I can clean up Homestead mistakes, especially with qualifying and actually, if you see on the pole, leading the lap actually in the race and not giving it up straight off the start. So, just got to be better about not making mistakes, man. And I think Homestead will be all right as long as it drives like it did last time. I'm feeling pretty confident going into there. Hopefully we can not make it 5, second place finishes and maybe get a second win here.
Well, Zach, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Well, first off, thank you guys up in the booth. I can't wait to go back and watch this. I know it probably was a lot of follow the leader action. So, not the most exciting thing, but it was a tough time definitely in the car here tonight. So thank you guys for putting on a show for us up here. Thank you to Brian for just being a great competitor. He's my teammate, and I want to beat that guy so much. He did each and every week, and it eats me up. I'm sure if you guys could have heard me right after the finish this race, I wasn't too happy about losing to him. But man, he's a tough competitor, so I just got to give it up to him. And then everybody else in the league did a great job here tonight. I know we had a really low car count here tonight. I think a lot of guys are missing due to stuff. So hopefully we can get those numbers back up here these next few weeks and get some good racing out here on Saturday night for everybody that's watching.
That's what we're hoping for, is for people to show back up for you on track. Great finish. And hopefully you'll break this second place streak that you've been having going on for yourself next week at Homestead.
Thanks, guys.
And now we head to victory lane with that of Brian Johnson in the 28 machine. Dominated all night long and never looked back. Brian, it's Sam and Terry up in the booth. I mean, it looked easy for yourself out there, but how easy was it trying to conquer this concrete monster at Nashville Superspeedway?
Well, yeah, it's definitely I've never raced this track before. I watched I think it was Monday night when they went. I watched their race, but first laps on this track this week. So usually when we come to a newer track like this, I tend to have some pretty good pace. But the thing about it is that Zach usually has some pretty good pace as well. So I knew going into night that for me and Zach, it was going to be kind of like a throwback to 3-4 years ago, back when we were in the Chevy SS and things like that. Just the way the track and the car were tonight. So I was looking forward to it. Looking forward to having a battle with him all night long, and luckily that's how it turned out, and luckily I was the guy on top tonight.
Yeah, you were the guy up top. Hey, this is Terry up here. Um, you came down pit road early, and you didn't really force the hand um, of Zach. Yeah, that's it. If you got brain freeze there for a second, you didn't really force the hand of Zach. And did it concern you at all that in the 6 laps that you two were off sequence, that if a caution was to come out, that you were gonna fall behind a little bit? And when did it really click to you that, okay, he has to gain 10 seconds here? I don't think he has a chance, or did it ever really creep into your mind that you pretty much had it locked up with about 30 to go?
No, I mean any time that you go for that undercut or at least pitting, right at halfway, or anytime you pit before the guys that you're racing with, that's definitely the risk that you take is a caution coming down and then getting stuck a lap down, or being involved in the caution trying to get through the guys that just lapped you. So that's always a concern, but that's the strategy that I wanted to do to win the race, because I knew that it was so hard to pass tonight. Earlier in the race when Tom was in the lead, I was probably a tenth faster than him in 1 and 2, but just couldn't figure out a way to get around him because underneath it was too loose, and you can't really, Tom he runs that super Sinchak line, and takes it really wide, so you can't get to his outside, and with the 30 air, it's just really hard to pass. So I knew that doing the undercut and ensuring that I would be up front um, in the last little bit of the race there, and forcing Zach to pass me was going to be the way to go. And um, yeah, when he was catching me there at the end, it came out of pit road 10 seconds behind, and he got it down, I think at one point to about 3.8 seconds. And I was worried there for a little bit, but I just turned it up a notch or two, and then I think he burnt his stuff up. So then it was just a race to get the white flag and not have a caution come out, because Mark and I think a couple other guys, they had a set of tires left, and I didn't, so I didn't want to see a caution there at the end. So it was kind of a race to the white flag for me.
Well, Brian, you swept the road courses. You then have now tonight swept the concrete courses. We're now heading to Homestead, then playoffs. How are you feeling about these next couple of weeks and playoffs being right around the corner?
Well, yeah, with Homestead, that was a championship race last year, and that didn't quite go the way I wanted it to. I had good pace and finished up front, but had to, miss out on the championship there. But Homestead, a lot of guys are good there, so it's going to be some tough competition. So, just gotta try to stay mistake free. I think that's going to be the key to next week, is just have as little mistakes as possible. And then going into the playoffs, I think especially with tonight, unfortunately, Tom got that damage, and so gained a lot of points on him tonight. So going into Homestead, if I can just have a decent race, I think I'll have that regular season championship wrapped up. So that'll be pretty good for me heading into the playoffs. And then for the playoffs, it's just just about consistency and trying to maintain that points lead as we get to the final race, and then race it out from there.
Well, Brian, again, congratulations on the win. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
I got to thank you guys as always, putting on such a fantastic broadcast for us here on Saturday nights. Hopefully we can get some more cars. I know, there's only 14, 15 cars. I had a lot of green flag laps, so that was pretty cool. But it's I want to see some more guys out here. But thank you guys. Thanks for everybody that tuned in, and just got to thank all of my teammates over at Category 5. I'm not going to attempt to name all of them because I know I'm going to miss some. But we're doing a pretty good job of uh, pushing each other to get some better pace, and especially Zach tonight. Anytime that Zach has some pretty good pace, and I see him in my mirror, I have to be as perfect as I can be, and so just got to thank him for really pushing me there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's going to be Brian Johnson, the 28 magnitude 9 machine. Congratulations on the win here tonight, and have a good one celebrating it.
Thank you, sir.
What a night it was. Brian Johnson absolutely dominating most of it. And as we get ready to look at the unofficial results, Terry, what were some of your final thoughts here at Nashville Super Speedway?
Great competition. Drivers are super respectful. I would have expected more cautions to come out, but with the thinner field, there really wasn't a whole lot of opportunities to catch yourself in it. The only thing that really stands out to me is Ryan Bird. I still question it, and I'm going to ask him eventually, why did you back out so soon, knowing what we know now of the drivers that was there? A couple laps, he could have finished in the 13th position to gain those spots to come out here and not put himself in a must-win situation going instead.
Yeah, Ryan Bird's question mark, Vincent Sora, and also Danny Cochran. Those are three drivers that you're just like, wow, can't believe where they finished. Tom Sitchek ended up finishing 11th. Was expecting him to have a top 5 run, but you look at where the top 10 are. Brian Johnson with your victory, Zach Hall second, Mark Whitley third, Nick Crawford, Ethan Smith, Aaron Kralik, Dylan Walterman, as well as Sean Hutstetler, Thomas Walter, and Trevor Earhart going to be your top 10 here tonight. Well, Terry, we're going to the final race of the regular season, Homestead, track with progressive banking, where we're going to be seeing the high line, low line being used all night long. What are you expecting for us to see next week?
Oh, man, it's going to be slide job city. Every single driver is going to be up on the high side, almost touching the wall on the Kyle Long line, or you're going to see a little bit of dirt tracking with Tyler Reddick going to the bottom, sliding up to the top. It's going to be a fun show. Hopefully these drivers put their gloves on, because their hands are going to be raw at the end of that.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, thank you again for joining us. I know it is exciting to see where you working with us here at Freaky Fast, where that goes moving forward. But for us here tonight, thanks for joining us. 160 laps, and the victory goes to Brian Johnson in the 28 machine. Next week, final race of the regular season. Who are going to be the 16 drivers moving on to race for a championship? We'll find out then at Homestead. But for tonight, to finish out our call, we got to throw it over to our producer, Robert Moore Jr., to give us our final call.
All right. Well, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, all drivers out there. And thank you, everybody out there tuning in here at YouTube on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We do much appreciate it. Wow. What a race. Yeah, Brian Johnson takes that, concrete and just keeps the momentum rolling. So we'll see how see if anybody can trump on his victory parade here in the next couple weeks. And like you guys said, we're heading to Homestead, and we seen what happened last year at Homestead when we had that championship race with the top 3 there really battling hard. Zach Hall was pretty fast. Brian Johnson was pretty fast. But Cedric Hunter is really, really good at Homestead. So I know he wasn't here this weekend, but he will be back in that Hello Kitty car, number 13, next week at Homestead. So make sure you tune in next week as Sam Dyer and Terry Radford call all the action here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting from Homestead. But with that being said, our next televised broadcast will be tomorrow night with SRU, Sim Racing Unleashed. So make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 7:50 when we have all that action with the next-gen cars and their race. That's going to be fun to watch them too. And I also want to give a big shout out to our proud sponsors here. We noted it on earlier in the broadcast: Advanced Sim Racing, ButtKicker, and iRacing. Make sure you go check them guys out on the interweb. But we do much appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. And with that being said, here from Freaky Fast Broadcasting and the crew, we always like to say to everybody out there, God bless everybody. We love you all. Peace out.